Hello everyone, welcome to another technical video tutorial. In this video, I will solve around 61 questions based on Red Hat Certified System Administrator final quiz. So it's not the actual Red Hat certified exam, but it's a final exam which might be helpful for you if you are preparing for Red Hat certification. So without making any delay, let's solve the questions. So the first one is, what is swap in Linux? So there are multiple options that are correct. So the swap is a swap memory that we used as a additional memory that's called the virtual memory, and it's also called as a file system in the Linux machine. So there are two correct answer, the file system and virtual memory. And then virtualization feature depends on, that's a kind of theoretical questions, and also there are some practical questions. So virtualization feature depends on only CPU. So if your CPU is capable to make one or more virtualization, so that's only depends on CPU. So your CPU needs to support additional virtualization feature. And then the minimum partition required for MBR, master boot record, for Red Hat 9 installation. So the answer is only one. So you need only a specific partition if your system is MBR format. And then, is it possible to extend operating system partition in standard partitioning after Linux install? What do you think? So there are two types of partitioning system. One is LVM and another one is standard partitioning system. So in LVM you can extend more operating system partition if you required. So for standard partitioning it's not possible. So the answer is no. And then the heart of Linux operating system, I think most of you know, it's kernel. Very simple. And then Linux system regular user ID range. So you know the Linux system, every user has a independent user ID. So for the regular system, it's 1 to 999 and 0 is for the root user. That's identical and fixed. 0 UID is for the root user, and then 1 to 999 is the system user ID. And for the regular user ID, it it will start from 1000. So you cannot set a specific UID or change it later for user account. So it's false. Obviously, we can change the user ID after creating any user account. How to exit less command output? So obviously you have to press Q. So when you use the less command to read some text files, it might be a long text. If you want to quit, then you have to press Q. What define the colon X colon in the user profile info? So when you create a user account, you will find, if you write something etc passwd and then check one of the user account, then you will find this. So this defines basically the user password info. And then what symbol will show in Red Hat or CentOS if user password is not set? So if you are familiar with the command, so it obviously this. So if you create a user account without any password, then you will see this symbol in the user accounts. I can't show the, I could show the practical, uh, but it will take more time. And then command syntax to remove a user from a group. So if you have a group with a list of members, so how you can remove a user from the group? So for this we can use GP for group, G for group, pass WD, and then minus D for delete Imran is a name of the person who is a member of staff. So this is the group, and this is the name of the user uh, belongs to this group, and we have to use minus D to delete this user from this staff group. So this is the command. Under which directory would you expect to find log files? So where the log files basically located? It is under the root directory and var folder, inside the var folder. Whose command was developed to show only first 10 lines of a text file? Obviously head, and we use the tail for showing the last 10 sentences. So you can obviously define the number of sentences you want to see from the first few lines of a text file. 14. What is the name of the file in which public key fingerprint of the SSH server you have connected to in the first are stored? So when you connected to any of the cloud server, so you should have something, it's called the known host. Obviously it should be the known host, and the known host is located inside your home directory, and then there is a hidden file if you use the Linux or Windows.ssh. So under this folder on your local machine you will find this folder known host, so where you will find the information which remote server you have connected. And then, which of the following statements about key-based SSH authentication is true? So the answer is use SSH copy ID to copy the public key to the remote server. Obviously, this is true. So you have to use this command SSH minus copy ID, then minus I, then your username, and then at your remote server address or your remote host name to copy your public key to the remote server. Then which command get information about password properties such as password expiry. So this is obviously ch is minus l. So using this command cs minus l, then you have to write the username. Then you will find the password information about a specific user. In which configuration file would you set the host name? So which configuration file? It should be etc host name. So inside etc host name, you can set your host name. Of the following nice values, which will increase the priority of the selected process? So as we know, the minus 19 is the maximum value, maximum priority to process your task or job in the CPU. So it should be minus 19. And then which of the following shows correct syntax to change the priority for the current process with PID 1234? So if you have a PID 1234, if you want to set the priority, then which command you have to use? So you have to use the renice. So renice is the command, and 5 is the lower value, and minus p for priority, then the process ID 1234. So this is how you can provide the priority to execute this task with the higher priority. And then 20, which command should you use to install RPM file that has been downloaded to your computer? So you can use RPM, this command, obviously RPM for Red Hat Package Manager, and then I for installation, V for verbose, and S for hash value to identify the hash value, and then your RPM package name. So this is the command that you can install your local downloaded files, and then you can install it using this command. Which partition type is commonly used to create a Linux partition? Obviously 83. So this is the value that you can provide during the creation of Linux partition. And then this is the multiple choice question. There should be one more correct answer. Which command shows an overview of available physical volume? So if you have the LVM yeah, LVM based setup, then you should be familiar with the physical volume. So we can use PBS and then PB display. So these are the two commands which will show you the overview of your physical volume information. And then which command enables you to find the actual version of the kernel that is used. So obviously uname minus r is the command to find the exact kernel version. Which command installs the software packages that are needed to configure an Apache web server? So obviously HTTPD. So this is the package that is required to run the Apache web server. So yum install HTTPD. And then another one or more correct answer. Which of the following comes first in the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 boot procedure? So this is obviously Groove 2. So this is the initial uh, information when we boot the Red Hat operating system. So this is called the Groove 2. You do not have the root password and want to reset it, then which kernel arguments offers the recommended way to reset it? So it is obviously rd.break. This is how you can start resetting your root password if you forget it. Which of the following is not a valid SELinux secure enterprise Linux mode? So obviously enabled. So we have enforcing, we have permissive, and we can disable the SELinux. So there is no mode for enable or something. Then which command line switch is used with many commands to display SELinux related information? That's minus capital Z. So if you write it with other additional commands, it will show you all the SELinux related information. Which of the following is not a standard firewall D zone? Obviously untrusted. Which of the following module is the name of firewalling as implemented in the Linux kernel? So again, which of the following modules? We have to specify the specific module name for the firewalling. So this is obviously net filter. So net filter is the base module for firewalling implementation. And then what is the name of the GUI tool that enable you to easily manage firewall configuration? So most of the time we configure the firewall using command line, but you can configure the firewall using the firewall minus config. So if you run it and using the sudo command, then a graphical user interface will be opened where you can configure the firewall in a GUI mode. Then which command enables you to count the number of words in a text file? Obviously WC word count. And then which term describes the interpreter that executes the commands typed as string? So when you type some commands in a terminal window, so it is the interpreter behind the terminal is called the shell, which basically executes all the commands and work as an interpreter to communicate with the kernel. So which term describe the name of a program to run? Obviously, the command. So the command we use to run a program. Then which term describes the hardware display and keyboard used to interact with a system? That's obviously a physical console. So physical console is a console where we directly interact with a keyboard and a hardware display or with a monitor. So which term describe one of multiple logical consoles that can support an independent login session? That is obviously virtual console, that where we can use alter control F1 and up to F6 for login. So which bash shortcut or command is used to complete the command's file name or option? This is obviously the tab button. So which bash shortcut or command re-executes a specific command in a history list? So obviously it's explanation symbol and then the number. So if you write history, then you will find your all previous executed commands. So you can pick up any of the executed command. There is a number of sequence number where you can specify the number of the command that you previously used to execute it. And then which directory contains persistent system specific configuration data? Obviously root etc. Then which directory is the top of the system's file system hierarchy? Then obviously it's root. Root is the directory that is the top system file hierarchy. Then which directory contains dynamic data? Which directory contains dynamic data such as databases and websites? Obviously var. So var contains all the database related information. So which directory contains regular user commands? Obviously user bin. Uh, that is the directory where all the regular users command and are available there. And then which directory contains non-persistent processes runtime data? That's obviously run. Run directory contains non-persistent process runtime data. So which directory contains installed software programs and libraries? That's obviously under user. So this is the directory where all the installation programs and libraries are saved or occupied when user log in with their regular user accounts. So which command will change the working directory to root temp if the current working directory is home student? So obviously we have to write cd space dot dot then root space dot dot then the root directory. So this is how we can directly jump from this directory to the temp directory. And then which command list files in the current location using a long format including hidden files? So hidden files we use the A, and for long format we use L. So this is ls minus al. Which command will always change the working directory to the parent of current location? So this is obviously cd space dot dot. It will always take you on your current location from the parent directory or somewhere. So which pattern will match only file names beginning with B? So this is obviously B star. It's a search query. Which item represent the program that provides the user command line prompt? Which item represent the program that provides the user's command line prompt? That is obviously the login shell. So login shell provides the user command line prompt. And then which item or file represents the location of the local group information? So the local group information obviously inside the root etc then slash group. It's the root directory, and then under the group where all the local group information are available. So which item or file represents the location of user personal files? So this is obviously the home directory. So in the home directory, like every users have their own home directory where they will find their users personal files. Which item or file represents the location of local user account information? Obviously etc passwd where all the local user account information are saved. What is the fourth field of the etc? Yeah, this is the directory file, and the fourth field is obviously the primary group field, like in which primary group the user is belongs to. And then what is the name of the device file of an entire SCSI hard disk drive in root dev directory? So it is obviously root dev as SDA. That means S for SCSI, D for disk. So SCSI disk, and A for uh, the name of the file. The entire is, yeah. This is the hard disk, the root hard disk partition that's located here. Yeah, the entire SCSI hard disk. And then choose the device file name of the third partition on the second SCSI. So if you add another SCSI hard disk, that will start with SCSI disk. So this is the primary one, SDA. If you add another one, that will be SDB. And then it says the second hard disk, that it obviously SDB, and the third partition is called SDB3, SCSI disk B3. That means the second partition, second hard drive and third partition. Second hard drive and third partition, whose command provides an overview of the file system, mount, file system mount points, and the amount of free space available in um, SI unit. So it is obviously df minus h. This is the command which will show you all the hard disk information. So which command display all the recurring user jobs scheduled for the currently logged in user? So it will be cron tab minus l, cron tab minus l. This command basically display all the users job information or scheduling. Which command is used to check the status of SELinux on a Red Hat 9 system? So for this, if you want to know which mode is currently using, so you can use the get and force. So using this command, you will find the status of SELinux mode. So which of the following commands will display all currently mounted files system in the Red Hat 9? So it is obviously the mount. So mount is the command which will show you all the information currently mounted in your on your Red Hat 9 system. So yeah, and then which command would you use to archive and compress a directory in a single step in Red Hat 9? So this is the tar minus C for create, minus uh, uh, Z for gzip, and then F for the file name. So the file name is archive and dot tar dot gz. This is the format, and this is the directory where you will save this uh, specific folder archives. Yeah, this is the command where you can use to archive and compress. The last one, to create a new LVM logical volume, which command should you use after creating the volume group? So obviously it will be lv create, logical volume create. So using this command you can create a new logical volume from LVM. Yeah, so I think this is the very I mean from basic to medium levels questions which will give you an overall idea about the Red Hat Linux based questions and answers. I hope these MCQs will help you at least if you are preparing for your Red Hat final exam. So I hope all answers are correct. You can test it yourself, and that's all for today. And thanks for enjoying my video.